RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Public show? I don't know. We got to give some snappy name to this public broadcast. I'm of course got screens all over the place trying to figure out if I'm coming or going here. Chris, of course, total rock star. He loads all these things up and gets them ready, and then it's just really a question of can I jump through hoops on time and on cue. Of course, YouTube would love to stuff this video full of ads, but we're all about the people. So screw you, you damn ads. And I suppose if there is some point an alternative to this YouTube, we probably should move away. Did see a lot of people, including one gentleman in particular on the site, Dan. It's been highly encouraging us to try and get video streams up and running on I suppose I guess we have to call it X now, right, and be politically correct. One thing I did notice recently, which I found amusing, was people are barking about how Alan's platform is the only one that seems to have free speech anymore. Everything else, social media wise, is being totally censored by Big Brother. I don't know whether Alan's been censoring or not. I do find that regardless, I seem to always pick fights with all of these people, so I don't really get much traction anywhere. Good old Brian. What the hell? Always a maverick, always off on his own. I think I better invest in yeah, there is Rumble. And actually, I did set everything up on Rumble, but I tell you, that's a bit of a challenging platform. But you are right. In fact, actually, we're even looking at how can we like multiple stream, because I think that's probably the future, is to be able to stream on like many of these social media platforms simultaneously. So anyway, try to look forward to us doing something along those lines down the road. It's going to be a little bit of a screwy day here. I do know that there are some people that, of course, on Tuesdays, it's Panic Cook Tuesday. But with the Europeans having not changed their clocks and the North Americans having changed their clocks, kind of a noob, probably while the Europeans are working off a slightly different time zone. Probably things like opening range trades should probably be put on hold. And I noticed today that I got stopped out on my opening range trade for a full loss. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. But shit, that's the way it goes. So I'm back to about a third of the objective for Top Step. I was inching my way up there to a 50% level, but unfortunately took a step backwards today. But that's the way it goes with these silly tryouts and trading one particular setup day in, day out. Not really in a big hurry. If anything, I've told you this repeatedly. What I want to do is be the demonstrator of best practices. So really the question is, do I make any mistakes while taking these trade setups? If I make mistakes, then clearly I don't have any business teaching you people how to trade if I can't manage myself. So if anything, I'm always exceedingly pleased. Even if I lose money on a setup, did I act appropriately and did I behave appropriately? So here was our opening range. Kind of a big dump to start things off, which should have been a bit of a warning sign, but nonetheless, the market actually fired a sell here right out of the gate. I didn't want to take that. I let the market consolidate a bit, and then on the break of that level, I went and hit it here. What ends up happening? Market ends up ratcheting back. We did actually make new lows. Everything was looking hunky-dory, had take profit levels working, and then all of a sudden the selling just stopped, which does happen in this game. And then quickly ratcheted back and stopped me out for a full loss. $93 on the chin here today, but oh well, it's no big deal. Did have some fun. I don't, if I do have a losing opening range trade, I usually just put the Top Step account away, and then I just trade my own personal accounts and stuff. Had a fun little clip. Took the market for about excuse me, This worked out to, I think, about 150 bucks profit on just this cute little trade. It was about $100 somewhere in that neighborhood. And then had some runners on in case this thing really wanted to puke out, but got stopped out on the runners at settlement. And actually, it's interesting because I did find myself kind of wanting to really push a trade, but off the higher time frames, didn't really have a trade setup here. I did take this head and shoulders top, and then I sat there for about 10, 20 minutes and I was like, is this really the demonstrator of best practices? And I said, you know what? This is not a good trade idea. You should probably just get the hell out of there and let's try and just be a demonstrator of best practices. A couple things that were troublesome about this, the head and shoulders price objective 50% rules. That really only represented not even a one-to-one risk reward based on the levels that I took the trade at. So that in itself should have been a major warning sign that this really wasn't very good risk reward. And sure enough, had I not sort of come to my senses and said this is kind of a dumb idea, I would have had my head handed to me. But I just walked away at scratch basically. And sure enough, market worked its way higher through the rest of the morning. I think we're kind of calming down now here a bit. And actually, before we got the broadcast going, we pulled up the charts and went, oh my goodness, this looks like actually a really pretty short that's set up here. And ironically enough, for those people that like that ICT guy, I have been following his silver bullet setup, just see how it operates and whether I can actually follow the logic of it. And I hate to say it, but I think this was actually another one of his silver bullets trade setups here. And everything sort of combined. I think probably the most important thing is you want to wait for this market structure shift. Notice the market was making higher highs and higher lows. Then we came through the European close. So kick all those euro trash out, basically ran them out at the very high of the markets, which is very normal. It's a liquidity event. I want to inflict as much pain on these day traders as possible. And remember, of course, day traders, they have to be out of the market by the close. So into that European close. Now, what a big surprise. Double top comes in. And they start bringing the market down. Mr. ICT guy break that previous market structure, the bullish structure, higher highs and higher lows defines the bull market. And then on the following the break, try and identify that little, he calls it his fair value gap, or where the market just sort of pukes out. And I've told you guys this repeatedly. Take a screenshot of this, put this in your notes. It's absolutely remarkable how consistent this is. But good old mountain man, Brandon Rigo, probably one of the best crude oil traders I ever worked with. Anyway, that was his level, 61.8, but you can see how beautifully that trade worked. It's remarkable how consistent that is. So anyway, I think there is your trade. Probably not a bad idea. Take some profits on at least a test of this low. Maybe move your stop to scratch on remaining, and who knows where the hell this thing's going to take you. It might rally right back up, like I said. And I like to do this. Sometimes, you just get stopped at scratch and it's sort of like, oh, wow, that was a big hurry up and do nothing kind of idea. Remember, I did that on this little fade that I took up in here and got stopped at scratch on the remaining. But sometimes, you just don't know in this crazy game. That's why we play it. I don't know what's going to happen here. A double bottom is coming in, but this thing could very easily fade and just totally puke right out. And you do have to ask yourself, why is the market as egregiously strong as it is? And on balance, actually, I wouldn't call this egregiously strong. That's probably not the best word to use. Let's call it tepidly strong. Dow's up about 0.5%. We spent some time actually yesterday going through all the Dow stocks. It looks like quite a few of them are pointing higher. So it doesn't surprise me to see the Dow pointing up. ES up about 0.8%. And of course, led by the high beta NASDAQ up a good 1% on the day. But as I said, coming into that European close, things are looking a little bit heavy. Could we have a bit of a give and take here? This was a V bottom this morning. And I guess really the ultimate question is what, fundamentally, what the hell's going on here? We did have, of course, today was the big inflation day. Actually, oh, that's a different hat. We'll maybe talk crypto in a bit, but finishing off our macroeconomics conversation, what the hell's going on here in the market? Did notice when I got up this morning, Japan was actually down a couple hundred points. I think I tell you I like to follow what Japan does as sort of like a, well, this is the odds. North America will probably follow that suit, but you can see on balance, market's relatively happy here. The only thing that's down right now, of course, is Shanghai. And I think I've told you repeatedly, I really don't like the Chinese story anymore. I know our CTO, he's all bullish of things like Alibaba. And I don't know whether China in particular, but I think he liked Alibaba. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we had, of course, I lost a whole bunch of charts. I'm slowly trying to rebuild all my charts, but I don't know whether I have this on here or not. Doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, here it is, China trade. Um, I think China was yesterday's story. I don't think it's tomorrow's story. I mean, I might even argue half of the reason why China looks like such shit right now is because we don't have that money laundering money pouring into the country. Having said that, yeah, we talked about this recently, bumping up against trendline resistance here. We also talked a little bit about sort of a symmetrical move. Oops. I always do this. No idea how the hell I got into this. There we are. So actually interesting that headline had Shanghai down, but price action here, they're pushing this thing higher here. I just don't know. And if anything, a little bit concerning now. You can see the divergence starting to build here in the MACD histogram. RSI still looks relatively positive, though. We'll see if it busts out through the top. Willie was fractionally stupid there. Came out as stupid, did put in a little W. So we might see a bit of a push higher here up into this price objective. Once we get up into that area, though, I'd be very, very leery about being bullish of China. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. So interesting how that is actually a very different image than that. That's a bit surprising. Let's see what this Shanghai index looks like. Does it even look relatively the same? Interesting how it's down a bit. Maybe we'll see a knee-jerk pop open higher here. I do like the idea, though, if you just drew a simple trend line that we're coming up against trend line resistance. And our rule, of course, if you are a China bull, I was commending Sjord recently about his bullishness. It looks like that was the correct call. I'd be careful, though, coming into this weekly resistance line here. Our rule technically is that we really don't want to get bullish at trend lines. We'd rather see them broken and then a W put in on the other side of the trend line. And, considering the amount of actual buying pressure that's happening here on this push up, basically it's non-existent. Also, momentum doesn't really look too exciting. I suppose really doesn't look bad, but no real, solid W's here on RSI. But anyway, maybe that's more personal bias. But as we come into this trend line and considering all these lunar events, the fact that the U.S. stock market really could use a bit of a pause here, and of course all our conversations around Bitcoin and the halvening event and all that kind of stuff, I don't know whether it really makes a lot of sense to be too bullish here. I think if anything, maybe we're in cooler jets kind of mode. Interesting to see this little day trade short indeed is fading. So maybe that was a little bit of a trap there. There's the VWAP. So I wouldn't be surprised actually if you see stocks come off a chunk here. One market actually that's kind of caught my attention recently is this gold market. It sure has moved up quite a bit. But maybe it's time for it to take a bit of a pause as well. Like everything has just zoomed higher here. So nice little inside bar failure there. Huge move up in the gold. And if anything, I think that they were kind of expecting that the inflationary pressure The actual inflation data was coming in relatively soft. Again, I think that the Fed down in the States is trying to jawbone the market. You heard Powell the other day say things like, well, we'd probably expect by the end of the year rates to head lower. And that's entirely what the market focused on. But I've said repeatedly here, and I don't see any reason to change this thinking. Keep loading that. The data that came out today, U.S. consumer prices above expectations. So yes, the market is rallying, but it's certainly not going to be on things like the Fed lowering interest rates. Ironically enough, in a weird sort of way, and I was even making this a comment to the day trading room this morning. I don't think a lot of you have actually participated in the market with an actual rising and strong U.S. economy. I mean, it had to go through its fear cycle. So in 2000, the baby boomers started leaving the economy. And the economy basically for the past 20 years has been on its knees. We were supposed to go through a Great Depression, which is usually what happens following this. But the democratically elected politicians, and this is everything that I teach you in the education program, they're not going to be the next Herbert Hoover, so they'll do everything they possibly can to prevent that. And so that along came this quantitative easing nonsense. So they've completely mortgaged their kids' and grandkids' futures. And of course, the hyperinflation that you're living through right now is that mortgaging of their futures, just so, Barack Obama could have a fun, happy-go-lucky presidency, and all that nonsense. Then you could argue even like Donald Trump, same thing. George Bush Jr., same thing. They all just kept, kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road. Now we're getting to a point where they just can't kick the can down the road anymore. They've gone, of course, and done the great reset. All of our lives, of course, have been sacrificed. Baby boomers don't give a fuck. They're near death right now, sitting on their old age pensions and stuff, and enjoying the hyperinflated house prices. They all own their houses, so they're. Chris is reminding me that I'm ranting a little too much here today, but nonetheless. So the inflation numbers that came out today actually are still pretty damn firm. And of course, you've heard Mr. Powell. If you don't know of this, the Fed, they actually like to watch the core rate. It removes things like volatile food and energy. And ironically enough, in a weird sort of way, right now, food prices are actually falling. Like wheat prices are actually down back to the levels that we saw, prior to all the sickness and the fraud, the scamdemic, all that crap. So you could make the argument actually food prices are actually relatively friendly right now. Energy prices are moving higher though, and I think they actually attributed, if I'm not mistaken, when I read the headline about why inflation numbers are as strong as they are, the scuttlebutt was that gasoline prices are up over 60% of the increase. And that makes sense because when are you supposed to buy your unleaded gasoline? And when are you supposed to sell your unleaded gasoline? You made money 9 out of the past 10 years. Are we in that window? Yes, we are. So really, none of this should surprise any of us. And, the problem there, of course, is that energy is the ultimate leading indicator for inflation. So if energy prices are rising, and, they've been going up pretty smartly here lately, that means that the inflation bugaboo is not going anywhere. And if the inflation bugaboo is not going anywhere, Jesus, look at that. Is that NASDAQ trade actually? Oh, that's the gold. But oh yeah, look at the NASDAQ came off, son of a gun. Chris and I were even just sitting there going, Jesus, that's a good looking short before we got the video going. And it turns out actually that would have been a really nice short. I don't know where the hell we put it. Yeah, here it is. Look at that. Son of a gun. So Mr. ICT wins again. I mean, I'm not going to take credit for his setup. It's his setup, so I might as well call a spade a spade. Am I going to trade this setup going forward and teach people how to do this if somebody asks me? Well, I actually think it's not a bad idea. That actually worked like a fucking charm again. So anyway, of course, if you want to go watch all his videos and stuff on online and on the interneting, and what I do find interesting is that there's about 20 different guys that all are now teaching his setup as well. So I guess that's what gives me permission to try and teach you guys this as well. But I will always call this Mr. ICT setup because, I think it is basically his idea. So he deserves credit. Anyway, long and short of it here, Mountain Man wins again. Eh? Jesus, nice trade. Brandon, you jerk. Oh, well. Maybe Mr. ICT is Brandon. That would be funny. So I don't know what oh God, I keep pulling up this crypto page. Maybe subconsciously it's like, let's talk crypto. I don't want to talk econs anymore. But I think on balance, I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, we started the day with Japan actually basically flatlining. And you can see even Japan right now, the futures are only up 1/3%. I wouldn't be surprised if this actually sort of just calms down into the end of the day. We don't really have a hell of a lot of econs out tomorrow either. We do have oil inventory numbers, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But in a weird sort of way, it almost feels like we're in like the calm after the storm in a weird sort of way. And what we should be keeping an eye on, we've talked lots, and maybe this is a good segue. Actually, I'm going to put the futures away for the time. Actually, you know what? I mean, it might be a good idea just to take a look. What do these daily futures on the NASDAQ actually look like? I mean, is this a kind of market that Brian's going to say, yeah, you know what? Go in and buy the top of the market. You're guaranteed to make money. What do you think Brian's going to say? Do you think Brian's going to endorse that kind of thinking? Come on. It might be interesting to see if this was a 2.618 off of this range. Let's see. Survey says, boom. Well, where's 2.618? Actually, this is a regular chart, so we better make sure that this is drawn correctly. I should wind this up and head on over to, actually, no, this is not, this is drawn correctly. It is. So, okay. So point of the matter here is if we are working off of that range, this thing could still go a bit higher here, right? So yeah, be cognizant of that. Having said that, don't really have, well, maybe we have. The interesting thing is this is the June contract. The Marches are still trading, but you can clearly see we're rolling over into June right now. And what we probably should do is go boobity boo, and maybe boobity boo. This also looks like it wants to pull. Oh, no. Oh boy, look at that. Doink. So this is it is a potential reversal zone, PRZ. Interesting how Mr. ICT, of course, has his short setup working here on the day trade. Interesting off of this range though, 200% extension, just basically a cup and handle. Should take us a little bit higher. Could we have one more push up top? Maybe. I don't know. It's a tough one. I would be asking, do we have divergence developing? You can see they're pushing the price to new highs, but momentum is actually fading. And was Willie stupid? Yes, it was. So we have all the makings for a short setup here. And I did post in the lounge the other day that it looked to me like the S&P 500 needed to take a bit of a pause. So, man, what a big surprise. This 50% retracement would be nothing more than just a retest of this breakout level. And I think that's actually not terrible thinking. I'd probably also juxtapose on top of this something that really kind of actually puzzles me right now. But maybe, you know what? I'm going to save this for the after party. We should take a look at Tesla. I mean, the irony of it all is that the stock has actually done nothing now since Joe Biden was elected president. So how ironic. Everybody was absolutely in love with that thing, and it's basically done zero. Over the past 4 or 5 years, of course, it went zooming up, and now it's coming zooming back down. Let's finish off this free broadcast with a quick boo at crypto and the corn. Weekly price charts, nothing's really changed here. 2 weeks, last week, we had 2 weeks until 1 month prior to the happening event. So now we're down to 1 week. Does this paint some sort of empire top here through that sort of 1 month prior to having an event? It could. Don't think it's really in your best interest to try and call tops. I think that's always asking for trouble. Having said that, I think you should just recognize, where we are in the bigger picture. We don't get fundamental events very often in the crypto space. Specifically with regard to crypto, there's really is only one fundamental event that happens once every 4 years. Everything else is just bullshit. I hear everybody and their brother getting all excited about these ETFs and inflows and all that. I think it's just a load of horse shit, to be honest with you. And if anything, what I'm worried about is, Mr. Fink, manipulating these markets. I think he has released his algos, and this is now like an up only market. And this is sort of where I get back to the conversation about things like Tesla. I mean, I don't know whether you're aware, and I am going to backtrack here because I think this is an important comment to make with regard to things like Bitcoin. We actually look at Tesla on a higher time frame basis. What you find is, ironically enough, this is another one of these damn ICT setups, just off of the weekly chart. And if anything, this is such a great analogy that the universe is a fractal. It doesn't really matter what time frame you work off of. The most important thing is just understand the concept of market structure. Higher highs and higher lows defines a bull market. We go and break that bullish market structure on a big, one directional dump, that fair value gap kind of concept. Then after this thing settles down, mountain man tags of that range are absolutely incredible trade location. And look, it happened again. And this isn't off a 1 minute chart. This is off a freaking weekly chart. And what was fascinating about this is basically they just rallied the market, filled all the gaps, rallied it back to the most recent market structure fail level. And, I often tell you people, this is what I would call a institutional fingerprint, the bar that made the high plus the previous bar. Somebody came in on this little 2-bar pattern here and put a top in. The counter trend rally comes right back up into that level. And whoever put the top in the market here said, no, get your ass out of there. And what's fascinating is our screener system. And if anything, I was exceedingly pleased. I had a meeting with TRI CTO. He is going to be on the call tomorrow, Wednesday, as opposed to today, Tuesday. That's one of the reasons why I'm blabbing on as long as I am here today. We won't have Sjord today, my apologies, but tune in tomorrow. He'll be on the call tomorrow with Julian. I'm actually going to be completely MIA tomorrow, so just FYI there. But fascinating how, we do have a key reversal system on the system when it's operating. Great to hear. Sjord said he actually found the error, and now he's actually in the process with his assistant going and trying to fix the error. So when it comes to computers and computer programming, half of the battle is just trying to figure out what the hell the damn error is. So way to go, Sjord, on that note. But anyway, point of the matter here is we had this most beautiful weekly outside downside key reversal that I was barking about and put tons of tweets and shit out about. And it turns out that you could actually make the argument that this is also Mr. ICT's silver bullet setup as well. He could have been out tweeting. Well, actually, I shorted the top of your key reversal candle, Brian. You came in and shorted here, but I was short off of the mountain man level. It doesn't really matter. 6 1, half dozen the other. Point of the matter is, look at Tesla. And oh, what a coincidence, right? When fucking Mr. Fink, and what a great name, perfect name for the asshole, and oh, we're not about fucking the public over. We're all about hope. Yeah, give me a break. Anyway, he comes out after fucking years and years and years of touting this ESG, environmental stewardship, and blah, 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 He comes out here, and it's incredible when you look at the fucking price chart. He literally came out. We found out the day that he put out that news release. It turns out BlackRock doesn't give a fuck about ESG, and ESG is really the domain of governments, and we won't comment on ESG anymore. And why do you think that is? Because frankly speaking, I think that he and his algorithm, probably his computer program, not the algos, well, not him, but the computer program said, you know what? There's this kid on YouTube doing this silver bullet strategy, and it just fired. So you better pay attention to this, Mr. Fink, because I think this trade's over. Regardless, how coincidental. Like literally on this, and you could argue this is a harmonic PRZ trade location. And of course, I mean, the funny thing about trading is you look back on a really good trade idea and you can find like 20 or 30 reasons to justify shorting. But what a coincidence. Right after he's basically said, oh, we don't give a shit about the environment anymore. And what I found hilarious was just shortly thereafter, fucking Allen himself went on like, Joe Rogan and other media things and said, actually, it turns out environmental, it's not really that big of a deal. What a fucking hypocrisy this stupid human species is. I tell you, when I sit down with my maker after all of this is done, I'm going to say, the next time you send me back, I don't want to go back to that planet Earth. Can you send me to another planet that's got a more evolved species where you don't have all this fucking ankle biting and infighting and taking advantage of each other? Because I tell you, this species is just fucking evil. And I heard yesterday some guy on social media was all proud of himself. He said over the past 4 or 5 years, he's just been going all in on Tesla. Every single penny he's ever saved, he's pouring into Tesla. And now, I mean, keep in mind, this is a log chart, right? This high here, that's what, $415. Here we are at 117. And this is where Mr. Fucking Biden was actually elected president. So you could make the argument for over the past 4 years, this stock has actually done absolutely butt kiss. I mean, it's criminal how bad this is. I mean, remember, folks, I'm trying to help all of you. So I'm the type of guy who will point out how criminal all this behavior is. And oh, by the way, how's Kathy Woods doing on this Tesla investment? I think she said that this thing's basically going to take over the world. Well, stupidity. Anyway, you know what M's are all about. I wouldn't touch this thing with a fucking 10.3 meter pole. Actually, no, that's not how it goes. 10-foot pole, 3.2 meters is what we say here in Canada. So why am I going on about this? Oh, is there an asset that this dickhead is actually promoting? Dun, dun, dun. I mean, really, this is all about market manipulation is what it is. Scares me. For heaven's sakes, the day that cocksucker comes out and says, we're not interested in Bitcoin anymore, you better get the fuck out of this thing. I don't think that that's the case right now. And I think he's just giggling along with his computer program. I can't remember what the hell it's called. But I think he's doing quite well. And I don't know what his objective is here, but having said that, I've worked in this business a million years. There is an old expression, buy the rumor. We finally do have a big fundamental event coming up, sell the news kind of scenario. I don't know whether it's just one of these quick pullbacks that was sort of the hallmark of the ETF news, buy the rumor, sell the news event. What I would say is I've been saying to you guys all along that, usually following these happening events, there is a fairly substantial technical correction. I would simply say that our trading range here, I think the top end of the range, of course, is whatever our highs are here locally. And the low here that was put in following that ETF event is probably your low, maybe somewhere between this low and this breakout high into this window. Oh, what a surprise. That's a reload zone that Beamish is always barking about. If we look at the daily chart, of course, this is that this is that price action from the 15-16 cycle, which I think is more relevant to what we're seeing here now, which means that we should probably have fairly quick, fairly violent move back down into 50% rules, which would be back down into that previous pivot. that I was just mentioning off the weekly charts, right back down into this area here. Also, too, I kind of like the idea. You can see how the market played with this trend line, blew above it, probably come back down. You can see we played with the trend line, blew above it, come back down, play with it, maybe have another push higher following. I kind of like that thinking here. And interestingly enough, there are some people on the site that are kind of thinking that, maybe we have to do a full retrace. I don't think so. I've said this to you before, and if you're asking my opinion for whatever that's worth, it's not worth a hell of a lot. But I think that we're doing something along these lines, which means, remember, you all saw what that Fink guy did to that Tesla stock. You saw how he worked governments. Keep in mind, governments are dumb as fuck. You don't have to even have a high school education to be actually elected as a political representative in our society. And I would actually make the argument that for the 1%, the stupider, have you seen what these idiots in the US Congress, the House of Representatives, and in my country, the parliament, I mean, they're just as bad. I mean, have you seen how stupid some of these people are? But they're democratically elected officials. So, hey, they must be smart. I mean, hell, there was one representative out of the state of New York who was like literally a convicted con artist. And he was just recently kicked out of Congress because the crimes that he committed were just absolutely atrocious. So, anyway, the point being that you saw what happened with that Tesla stock, and it would be really good to actually go back and see where that doofus originally first touted Tesla, because I have a funny feeling it was way back here where he first sort of touted the Tesla story. I think he's going to do exactly the same damn thing with Bitcoin. And of course, all you circle jerkers, this is fucking music to your ears. The issue here, though, is just understand, because we have this fundamental event coming up here, I think that we're a bit overdue for some sort of technical cleanup. But because of the relationship of the weekly moving averages, pullbacks are buying opportunities. And I hate to say it, folks. I mean, call me crazy because I don't really like predicting the future, but I actually think that this is what's going to happen here. I think that we could very easily be in a scenario where you see gold go up to $5,000, $10,000 an ounce. The great reset is happening. They've already printed all the money, so that damage has already been done. Now it's just a question of the market sort of pricing all of this in over the next few years. And if you want a historical comparison, I'll leave the video off at this. What did Newmont Mining, which is the biggest gold company in the United States, what did it do through the last sort of great reset period? And that was when Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States in the year 1980, 81. And of course, he opened up the floodgates, which I could very easily see either Trump or Biden come back in. They're just going to continue, spending and printing money like drunken fucking whores. And you can see here is 81, 82, 83, 84 kind of idea. If you look at Newmont, it's looking exactly the same. But look at what it did from 84 all the way to 87. I mean, what is that? That's, 10, 11, $12 up to $80. Holy crap. Biggest gold company in the world. So could other inflationary products, digital gold, could it maybe do the same thing? I think so. So the writing's on the walls, and I get the impression that this guy has basically picked, this is going to be our Newmont proxy for this coming cycle into 2017, 2018. What a surprise. This is going to be like history just basically repeating itself. So there's your backdrop. You should all be tickled pink that you've got Mr. ETF Wall Street guy backing your trade idea and your story. And, now that he's got the thing going, I don't think he's going to stop at any point down the road. But until, of course, he has made just absolutely insane, ridiculous amounts of money. but just try and put stuff into context. Are we gone maybe a little too far too fast? Do we have big fundamental events coming up that could act as a catalyst just to simply clean up the technical picture? And I think the answer is yes. All right, I'm going to leave the rant at that. That was a good 40 minutes. Hey, way to go on your 15-minute objective, Brian. But hey, everybody on the public broadcast, you got a nice little special treat here today. For God's sakes, people, please don't chase. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. If anything, I had said recently, we haven't had any scandals in this space in a while. Are we maybe a little overdue? Should we maybe have a hack? I mean, probably a lot of you new people coming to crypto right now, you haven't even been through an exchange traded hack or, exchange hack or, some sort of scam or con job or whatever. So, just be careful with your hard-earned money here, people, please. Call it just one for Uncle Brian. Just be just be careful. That's all I can say. And of course, if these names do pay you, for God's sakes, take some money off the table. Pay yourself for your hard-earned effort. What do you think? Is that worth maybe taking a little bit of profit? I mean, look at the divs that are starting to come in here. The writing's on the walls. So, all right. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wood nickels. You remember how all this goes. All the best. And bye for now.